There is a distance in the light, vibrations of a thundercloud. There is a distance in the light, frozen bed of snow-capped heights. There is a distance in the light, vibrations of a thunder.
Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and this is the My Sober Addiction podcast. And of course, dear loved ones, we are happy, we are healthy, we are wealthy, we are loved, and wow, we are so free. And this is a solo podcast. I don't know which ones would be considered the one-offs, because I have been collaborating a lot, actually exclusively, with Clive and Dom of the Breaking My Addictions podcast, and it's been really good. I mean, it just has. I mean, of course, we're going to get another level of depth, right, to the conversations. I suppose that's what I'm scrambling for here is the word I'm looking for. But it's been really good, and the conversations have been very deep. I always love getting those two guys' insight. I really do. However, I was just sitting here and, I am still doing my YouTube stuff. Of course, that's more my metaphysical, esoteric, whatever, Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, even kind of going there a little bit, even some Gnosticism, all that. And if you're interested in that, that's great. I'd appreciate it if you would, join me there. But I was sitting here and I had just done one of those, and I was like, I don't know. I was just thinking about our community and how we do, especially those of us who are in recovery and in addiction recovery, we attach ourselves to a community, and it's absolutely necessary. I understand why we do this. We do it for a lot of reasons. I mean, we are pack animals. Humans are pack animals, meaning we travel in packs. We don't do well as a solo, right? Of course, here I am doing a solo podcast, but that's exactly what got me to thinking about this. It is much more deeper when it's the three of us talking and bouncing ideas off each other. And, especially when Dom comes in with some of his little wisdom nuggets that he drops in, and it's like, wow, that was definitely, for one, timely, but it was also something that I had never even thought of. But even though we are pack animals and we do need to attach ourselves to a community, be it in your local neighborhood, city, wherever you are, in a lot of cases, we do that, and we go to meetings or join groups, and whatever the case may be. But we also have, for example, our WhatsApp group, and the nice thing about that is we can all just touch base, just kind of drop in, say, hey, how's everybody doing? Maybe catch up with one another. There's a bunch of different guys in there and we all bring something, right? We all bring something. We know each other. We've learned each other's habits, our all our little quirks. I mean, we've got everybody definitely has quirks, and it's funny when you get to know somebody, the quirks that you kind of pick up on from them. But anyway, that's off the subject. However, we do, I believe, dear loved ones, so that we can learn and grow. We do need to learn to be okay being alone. That's particularly something for us to think about when we are in addiction recovery, because a lot of people, especially when maybe their recovery is still fragile, in those times I probably would not recommend going and being alone, because as some people say, you've probably heard it, I've heard it my whole life, idle hands do the devil's work or whatever. And while I'm like, yeah, I get what the point is behind that saying, I do. And in a lot of cases, that's true. However, another good quote is, integrity is what you do when nobody's looking, right? And there's that too. So when we are in addiction recovery, I think it's important that we do go off on our own occasionally. I think it's important that we practice being alone, but still keep that lifeline handy. keeping that lifeline at arm's length. Because while it is important, as I've said, to learn to be alone, it's also important to make sure we don't go off the deep end. Because it's very easy, especially when we have a recovery that may still be a little bit fragile, when we feel like nobody's looking, I'm totally alone here, I can do whatever I want, and plus I'm feeling a little fragile, right? The temptation to relapse is very heavy. In those cases, yeah, I don't necessarily recommend you do that. I mean, it's just not. Because, I mean, there are practical steps that you can take that, one, will help you keep from relapsing, but two, it will demonstrate to yourself, not just to me or anybody else, but to yourself, how serious are you about your recovery? Have you gone through your phone and deleted every single number that could possibly get you drugs? Have you done that? Have you literally scrolled through your list of contacts and anybody in there, be it a drug dealer or just an old friend or whatever the case may be, if they could possibly get you drugs, have you deleted that number completely to where you cannot reach that person? Or maybe you could, but it would take a lot of work. It's certainly not just a scroll through my contacts and, oh, there's one, and click the button. We got to make it a little harder for ourselves to do that. Just make relapsing a chore, right? Make it hard to do. If you've done that, well, then you've probably at least said, yeah, I'm very serious about my recovery. And if you're very serious about your recovery, then go off on your own. Do a few things. However, always keep in mind that, yeah, I gotta keep present in my mind. Like how I talk about what the awareness alarms. Put awareness alarms on your phone. They go off every couple hours or however often you program it to do. And when that goes off, you check yourself. What am I doing? Where am I? What am I currently? Am I on my phone? Am I texting somebody that I probably shouldn't be talking to? Or whatever the case may be. But I also recommend keep a list, be it on paper, in your wallet, in your phone, in somewhere. Keep a list of things that you can do when you're alone, such as go for a nice walk, right? I mean, everybody can, most everybody has a park nearby. And if you don't, then you can at least just walk around the block. Anything. Just go for a nice walk or go for a run. I don't know. Do that. But keep a list, because sometimes when we're sitting around alone and maybe, as I said, our recovery may be a little bit fragile, possibly, we sit around and we think, I really have nothing to do. I'm sitting here alone. Yeah, I do have some community that I could reach out to, but I'm trying to be comfortable with being alone. Because that is, dear loved one, part of your recovery. You've got to be able to trust yourself sitting alone with nothing to do. But then again, there is always something you can do. You can, as I said, go for a walk. Or journaling. Journaling is something that we say is very important, and actually it's very cliche even. But as cliche as it may be, dear loved one, it is so useful. For one, if nothing else, it just gives you something to occupy your time with in this moment. Or it's documenting a record of your progress. Every day, day 1, day 2, day 500, every day we are documenting our progress if we're journaling. And I'm not saying you have to journal every day, but if you do find yourself spending that alone time we're talking about right now, and you think, I don't really have anything to do. Sure you do. Journal. Journal about what's going on. Journal about how you're feeling right now. Right now that you're sitting alone. Realize, dang, I haven't sat alone in a long time. Maybe you were in a recovery program. Maybe you were at rehab where you were doing groups every day, multiple times a day. You were sitting in the day room watching TV with other people who are going through the same thing you are, right? I mean, it's like we realize when we are at least new to recovery, damn, I don't spend any time alone. And that's by design, dear loved one. You shouldn't when you're new to recovery. However, as we get deeper into our recovery and we start living life as a normie, we do need to learn to be alone. Put on one of these podcasts. There's your one. Put that on your list. I mean, if you're listening to this, obviously you listen to podcasts about recovery. So what do we have on our list now? We have go for a walk, do some journaling, listen to some podcasts, meditation. That's a big one, especially when we're alone and we are exploring our own self. In a lot of cases, we're getting to know ourselves all over again, because the person that you've been in active addiction is certainly not who you are now. In a lot of cases, we don't even know ourselves anymore. It's like, I don't even know what I like to do anymore. What do I like to do now? It's like, well, 6 months ago when I was in active addiction or whatever, in my case, it's over 9 years, but whatever. What would I have been doing right now? Well, I would be out chasing dope or using dope or whatever. It would have been something to do with dope, right? And that's all I knew. That's all I was. That's who I was. But now I'm not. And now I have got to know myself. In fact, I like being me. But I did have to learn who I am. I did have to reacquaint myself with myself. And if you, dear loved one, have not done that, well, now you've got something to do. Get into meditation. Get into journaling. Explore your own mind. What do you like to do? What do you want to do with your time now that you don't use that time chasing dope or using dope or whatever the case may be? Now that you don't do that, what do you do? And I know that that can be a scary question, because there are many times where we're like, oh God, I don't know. And now that you've asked me that question, I'm kind of freaking out, because I honestly don't know. What do I like to do? Who am I? Now that I'm not an active addiction. Now that I'm not a dope fiend. Now that I'm not sitting in apartment complex parking lots for 2 hours waiting for my dope man to show up. Right? Now that I don't do that, what do I do? Who am I? Now that I'm not that guy. And by the way, I would love to go and find that dope dealer and tell him to kick rocks. I'm never going to sit and wait for another drug dealer again. You can kiss my foot. Kiss my foot. I'm never going to wait for another drug dealer again. I am not sitting, wasting hours in some random ass parking lot waiting for somebody who does not respect my time. Why? Because I'm a fiend. That's all. Just another fiend. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. That's not what I am. But that's cool. But now that I'm not that, what am I? I've talked about this so many times on the podcast. I don't have to go there again. What are you? Who are you? Explore it. And it gives you a very great opportunity to learn yourself, to reimagine yourself, to become a new version of you. It's like, what do you want to be now that you can't be that? I don't have to go there. I've talked about it recently on a solo podcast. But even when we are off on our own, even when we are spending time alone, it is very important to continue to touch base, just to check in with our community. As I mentioned, we talk about a lot the WhatsApp group, the Breaking My Addictions WhatsApp group. You can go to breakingmyaddictions.com and find links to the WhatsApp group. They're always in also in the description of these episodes too. It's not hard to find. We are readily available. And there's always Clive, Dom, me, other guys. Mickey, we've mentioned Mickey. He's on there a lot. There's a lot of us on there. And we do have that sense of community. We have guys that get on there and just talk about the things that are going on in their life. We know stories about guys. We know some of these guys' personal lives. Not like too in-depth, I guess, but it's really cool. The only thing we ask is don't get on there and try to promote anything. Don't try to sell us something. If it's just not the place for that. This is it's a safe place for support and community. But anyway, getting back to this, touching base, checking in with community. The WhatsApp group is great for that. Your family, loved ones, whoever it is that's around you physically, not just online, but also with your support system that you have around you. And I got to believe if you are in recovery, you do have some form of support system. It almost always requires that. So, but as I mentioned, checking yourself before with your awareness alarms. What are you doing? Just all that is once in a while, particularly when you're alone, just to stop and take stock. What am I doing? If your phone's in your hand, look at it. What have you been doing? Have you been texting somebody you shouldn't be? Have you been looking at something you shouldn't be? Whatever the case may be, what are you doing? And if not, and if it's something you're not supposed to be doing, stop. That's all. It's a point in time throughout your day where you stop and just take stock and recenter. Maybe breathe. Just breathe in. Center your awareness right here, right now. So that's what that is. But it's like when most people get into recovery, they're like, and they say, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like to do. All I've ever done, or at least all I've known for so long, has been just chase dope, chase dope, chase dope. That's all I've known to do. Or have some kind of hustle, some kind of grind. But ultimately, all that's about is getting money or whatever it is to get dope. It's always about the dope. So it's like, well, now that I don't do that, what do I do? But here's one thing that I do know about addicts, recovery or otherwise. Addicts tend to obsess about things. We get obsessed about whatever the case may be. But instead of obsessing about a hustle or a grind or a means of getting drugs, now we can do something positive. We can obsess about something positive. We can get ourselves a healthy addiction. And I know some people might be like, well, healthy addiction. There's nothing healthy about any addiction. So look, you can overdo anything. You can drink too much water, okay? There is such a thing as drinking too much water even. Yeah, you can do anything to death. You can do anything to the point where it's unhealthy. Yes, that's true. However, we're not really going there. But it's like most, and here's something I've often said, most addicts I've ever known are some of the smartest and most talented people I've ever known, be it musicians or just like one guy in particular is really good with like woodworking and even like stained glass type stuff and just doing very artistic things with craft type stuff, be it woodworking or even stained glass. That one's a very fascinating one there, by the way. Stained glass work. There you go. There's something you can definitely get into and it be very immersive. Very immersive, dear loved ones. It's something that is going to take a lot of learning, a lot of practice, a lot of patience, a lot of focus. And let's just face it, in a lot of cases, that's what addiction is, when you are just zeroed in, when you are focused like a laser on something. So I'm going to encourage you, dear loved one, when you have that time alone, and you will begin to have more and more time alone, with the understanding that, yes, you are a pack animal, and you do belong to a pack. You do have your community. And you can touch base with them at any time, and you should. However, there are going to be times where people are just busy. Maybe some of them are at work, or you just feel like spending the day by yourself. What are you working on? What are you building? Do you something positive? Like in Clive's case, and Dom, do you build websites? I certainly don't. I don't know the first thing about building a website, but I do know a couple of guys who do. And they do really good work. They focus on their work. I don't want to go so far as to say obsess about it, but they do. At least Clive certainly does. Clive definitely obsesses over his work with websites and things like that. But I just want to close out, dear loved one, by reminding you that we humans are pack animals. And it is very normal to want people around. In fact, it's very natural for us to want other people around us. We don't do well alone. Like you hear the story about the lone wolf. Well, the thing about the lone wolf that you don't usually hear is the lone wolf doesn't usually survive. It just doesn't. That's why when you hear stories about a wolf getting kicked out of its pack, it's pretty much a death sentence, because they are pack animals. And if one of them does something to get kicked out of the pack, it's like dead man walking. But anyway, humans are the same way. We don't do well solo. I mean, we do in short stretches. But we got to know that at least I do have my community. I do have my pack within reach. They are at a very short distance from me. But yes, spending time alone is always very good. Meditation, fantastic. You know you can't really do that with other people around. So do some meditation. Get to know yourself. Learn who you are. But always come back. Come back. Touch base with your community. Come to the WhatsApp group and say, hey, what's going on, you guys? I've been meditating a lot today, and it's been really cool, but here I am now. Anybody want to chat? And usually somebody's at least going to check in on you and see how you've been doing and let you vent if that's what you need to do, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe you want to, if you are doing some kind of craft, let's say you're doing some kind of woodworking or painting or whatever, you can share some photos of what you've been doing. We're going to heap praise on you and tell you it looks amazing and you're awesome, and can't imagine you couldn't make $1 million doing that. Just kidding. Well, I mean, we are encouraging, yes. Anyway, dear loved ones. But, and if you've got things that you've written, you can share that on there too. Just remember, we do have people in there who have multiples of different addictions. It's not just drug addictions. There are people with gambling addictions. There's people with porn addictions. I mean, we've got all kinds of people in those WhatsApp groups with different things. So just be mindful of those types of things when you start sharing visual stuff. That's all. But anyway, dear loved ones, yes, please join us on the WhatsApp group. You can also visit the mysoberaddiction.com website. Thanks to Clive, that is back up. As I said, that's his forte. He's definitely there. We are still collaborating. So the My Sober Addiction and the Breaking My Addictions podcasts are still collaborating. But yes, I did want to get on here and do a solo rant, because it is good to get off on your own and do a solo thing once in a while, but also bring it back into the pack. So anyway, dear loved ones, that's what I got for you. I love you. I truly do. And I will be back directly.